chord charts are the most important thing when you're learning new songs and learning how to play the guitar. I don't care who you are and what you say. When you want to learn a new song, if you don't know what your chord charts are, it's going to take a longer time, it's going to be much harder, and it's just going to be a pain in the butt in general. So going to this chord chart right here, I don't know if you can see these dots, but I'll just make them a little bit bigger. But we ran through chord charts a little bit, I think in the first lesson, I think we ran through chord charts a little bit in the first level, but I'm going to go really in depth with this one. So what these are right here, these bars right here that go downward, so I'll just point them out right here, these right there, those are frets. The in-between space is a fret. And then right here, these things are strings. These are strings that go this way. It is incredibly important that you remember those two details, as well as remembering the different strings. Now, some people get confused because it looks kind of backwards to most people, and it is kind of backwards to most people, but just kind of like looking at it from this angle will help. So what you need to remember is that the chord chart is a representation of your fretboard and of the neck of your guitar. And if you remember that, it will be very easy to apply what you're saying. It'll be very easy to apply what it says, what it represents to that. Another way to say it is a chord graph. I don't know if you guys have gone over graphs before in school, but this is very similar. So what you do, right up here, it's going to say the fret that it starts on, because in most cases, if it's a chord that does not start on the first fret, this is not going to represent the first fret. It's going to represent whatever fret it says right up here in this corner. So taking that, this says first fret, just for simplicity's sake. So what that means is that this is the first fret, this is the second fret, this is the third fret, this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. So this can be a little bit confusing again because most people see it as this is where the guitar neck starts, and this is where it goes down the neck. This is where the head goes, and it goes over here. This is like the head area, and this is where the neck extends. It is not that. The head would be over in this general area, like right over here, and it would go down here. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual chord. So again, the chord chart or graph is a representation of the guitar neck. So with these dots, this is where you're supposed to put your fingers. And how people usually do this is they will, in most cases, put their first finger here. So first finger up here, and then their third and fourth finger, or their ring finger and their pinky. So when learning a new chord, you'll want to do something like this. So let's say that it's like a traditional G. So it'll look something like this. So with this chord, what you'll want to do probably is kind of do some sort of weird contortion. Do something odd. So what you will actually want to do is put the finger that put your fingers in line. And what I mean by that is this is your first finger, this is your pointer finger, because it is like the first fret, it's the closest fret to the guitar's head. So with that, it's the closest one to the head, so it's like kind of like your first, the one that's furthest away from the body, I suppose. And then the second one, the next fret, you would use your next finger, next fret, next finger, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, apply it to this power chord, and you do not use your middle finger in this, just because there is nothing on this middle ground, and I'm just going to wipe this away just so you don't get confused. So this is our power chord, and you do not put anything here. And how this kind of works is just for how most people play it, and just to kind of like fit the fingers, you'd put your ring up here and then your pinky down here, because that's just how it works. So giving this kind of like how it actually looks on the guitar, and showing that this is an actual representation of a guitar, I will show you. An F chord looks like this. So I don't know if you can see the shape, but my first finger's up here, just like that. There's nothing on the middle. There's no finger on the middle fret. I've got my third finger here on the top, and then my pinky on the bottom. So it looks exactly like that. So that's how it's going to sound if you apply that chord chart. So that is how a chord chart works. Let me give you a summary of everything that we talked about, just so I can kind of go in line with your brain. This going down indicates the fret. It shows which fret you're supposed to be on, which fret your fingers are supposed to be on. These lines right here, the horizontal lines, as you could say, they represent the strings, and you can see that it's high B, G, D, E, A, and E, or how you usually say it is E, A, D, G, B, E. And what this up here says is that is which fret you are supposed to be on. So let's say that we were like trying to do a G. Just erase this real quick. So let's say that you were trying to do a... So if you were trying to do a G chord, it would look like this. Looks exactly the same, doesn't it? Except you don't know what's up here yet. And what I'll write in is this. Third, which means third fret. That is what this bar represents. It does not represent the first fret anymore. Now that can be confusing to a lot of people, so let me show you. So this graph, because it says third on it, right up here, that means I will go up to the third fret on the highest string. So it'll sound something like this. So that's kind of like how the chord works. That's kind of how reading the chord chart works. And then lastly, we can go right down here. It says F chord. Now, of course, we changed the chord, but at first it was an F. So down here, you can usually see which chord you're looking at. And what this is applicable to is when you are learning a new song, you're going to need to know new chords. And that's just kind of like how a song chart looks. It'll have the words, and then it'll have the chord above it, and you'll have to kind of follow along with the song. And if you're looking online, it will most likely have like a link to how the chords should look. So learning your chords with this method is incredibly imperative. It's the only way, really. So unless you look at it from some guy on YouTube, and it'll be super confusing at first, and then you get to it, and of course it'll feel like it wasn't that hard. But using this method, is about 1,000 times easier. It's really the only way. So that is what a chord chart is. That's how to read it, that's how to interpret the different symbols, and that's how it is applied to a guitar.